Welcome to our podcast, Talk to Me, Sister. I'm Cathey.
And I am Sarah, and we are twin sisters documenting our surrogacy journey, discussing women's health, motherhood, and all the details that led us here.
Our mission is to not only educate and inform, but to spread joy and hope through our story. Thanks for following along. All right. Hey, guys.
Hey.
Today, our episode is all about women's health, nutrition, frequently asked questions about health. As we have mentioned before, I am Cathey, and I am a gestational carrier for my sister, Sarah.
Hi.
And she is here, too.
And we're twins.
We're twins.
One day, we should do a episode just on being twins, by the way. Because I think people, it's not every day that you meet twins.
It's more common, though.
I was going to say, we have like 3 friends right now pregnant with twins,
which
is
pretty
wild.
Cray. But anyway, I am a registered dietitian. I have a master's in nutrition. And so we thought today it would be fun just to do something different, cover some nutrition-related questions that we get from friends. And
yeah, we're going to veer off the topic of surrogacy, even though that's our present journey and it always comes up, and we're like in those childbearing years, plus you're pregnant with my baby, so it's like a big topic. But we are going to do this episode on nutrition. I'm really excited. Cathey, I know it's your degree, but I got a lot more interested in nutrition and health and what I put into my body when I was diagnosed with cancer 2 years ago. 3 years ago almost. So I started, and you helped me a lot when I was prepping my body for treatment. And now, post-cancer, being a cancer survivor, I treat my body with a lot more care, let's be honest.
Yeah.
And I lean on you a lot with my nutrition questions. So Cathey, your nutrition is your degree.
Yeah.
It's what you're knowledgeable in, obviously. But for someone like me, who didn't have that as degree, I was an art major. I just heard, eat your fruits and veggies. That's like the extent of my knowledge.
Well, you knew more than most people because our family was pretty health conscious.
I know. And because of you, and Dad was gluten-free and has the dairy, has Lyme's disease. So maybe our family was more in tune to what we eat. Anyways, when I was diagnosed with cancer in treatment and post-treatment, I started to, you took me to Costco.
I did.
Was so sweet.
That was fun. We loaded up.
I started juicing, all those good things. So we're going to talk about nutrition. I'm really excited, but we're also, it's going to be kind of more of a mainstream conversation, but we're also going to talk about what foods and stuff can help fertility, because that's kind of relevant right now with like egg retrieval and everything. So first question, we'll get that out of the way. What are foods that may boost your egg count, or for guys that may boost your sperm count if you're prepping for egg retrieval or prepping to do IVF? This is like our main IVF question, and the rest is going to be pretty generic. But what would you say to that?
Okay, so my first thought I want to say is that we could talk about that question for an hour. So we'll probably do a whole episode for those who are interested on nutrition and fertility. Now, when we think about foods to help fertility, we're actually thinking more about egg quality and sperm quality. Now, count is important, but it's kind of a different conversation. In terms of nutrition, the impact can really change the quality of your eggs and sperm, which is so important. It actually kind of changes DNA structure, which is kind of incredible we have that power. So I'm going to give you a quick answer, and then we'll dig into that later for sure. But let's talk about sperm quality. This is a really important thing to talk about with your spouse, because often the pressure of like changing diet or changing lifestyles put on women, changing most things, adding supplements. I have a lot of clients who I work with who women are taking like 8 supplements, and then
the guys are
doing nothing.
Right. Or you like slip them like some fish oil or something?
I get them very involved in the conversation, hopefully.
Okay.
And we at least start a multivitamin and a vitamin D for men, and
extra vitamin D on top of their multi?
Yes.
Okay.
And another thing that can really, really help sperm quality and egg quality is a supplement called coenzyme Q10. Now,
Coenzyme Q10. I've seen it at Whole Foods.
It's really important.
Is it just for men?
No, for women too.
So I could take it. Actually, was that on my...
That was on your list.
I'm like, I was in a brain fog when I was doing it all.
It was definitely on your and Richard's list that I gave you before you did.
I feel like I took that.
And I need to back up and say, if you're interested in working with me or with somebody else in your area who specializes in fertility and wants to look at what you're already taking and look at your lifestyle and diet, I sometimes recommend supplements, but it's so important to know exactly what you need to work with somebody, you know?
Right.
Most people need at least a multivitamin, at least some extra vitamin D, and at least a coenzyme Q10 for sperm and egg quality.
Gotcha.
Now, some people may need more, right? Some people may need less. So it's so important, especially vitamin D. You can get your vitamin D tested by your doctor.
That's what my question was. Can the husband and the wife, or maybe not, if they're not married, the partners, can they get their blood work that shows what they're lacking?
That would be ideal. That would be absolutely.
And would that be their medical, like their primary care physician or the fertility clinic?
Either.
Okay.
You just have to ask, right? You have to be kind of your advocate. That's always ideal because then you're not just taking supplements and hoping it's helping. If you get your blood work done, you know exactly where you're deficient and what may be impacting your fertility.
You know what's crazy to me is that this wasn't a conversation with our fertility clinic, and they weren't like, let's see what you're lacking as far as, I mean, it's just not even conversation.
They did that for me, though, as a surrogate.
They did? They didn't do that. Well, I guess I'm kind of an anomaly. I didn't even have, well, no, I was getting my eggs.
You were getting your eggs done. I would look back at your paperwork, because I did, anyway.
They didn't tell me to take any supplements.
A big paperwork of supplements, but it was suggested. Coenzyme Q10 was suggested. It wasn't encouraged.
I take that back. The only thing they told me to do was a prenatal, which is kind of a given.
Yeah, hopefully. I actually worked with people who are in fertility clinics and still not taking a prenatal. So anyway.
What? Okay.
That's always the first step to do about supplements. Food-wise, for sperm quality, there's a lot of great research that Mediterranean-style diets can help sperm quality, right? So we're not looking at how much sperm. We're looking at also the shape of them and how quickly they swim. And if they have an extra tail or extra head, then they're not getting where they're supposed to go. It's so many crazy things can happen. We'll dig into it in a different episode. But Mediterranean-style diets, so just practical things that a man can do when you're trying to conceive. You can cut back red meat and dairy and fried foods and eat more fish, plants, nuts, plant oils.
So like
oils.
Big omega-3 stuff. Can they, I mean, would you suggest?
There's a research study that says like if guys can eat, even just eat a handful of nuts a day, not peanuts, but things like walnuts and almonds and, you know.
Cashews?
Pecans. Sure. Why not?
My fave.
Hazelnuts. Even things like that have some good vitamins and things like selenium and things that can help. So those are some quick things. Another thing I want to point out, one more last thing about sperm quality in men is it's a really good time to start cutting back on some things, right? So things that can damage sperm quality is alcohol, smoking, even marijuana, and like sugar and fried foods. These things can cause some damage, right? So we want to not only add some things, add some fish, add some plants, but we also want to try to go, where can I clean up my lifestyle a little bit? Mm-hmm. So those are a few things that can help with men. All of that, of course, can help with women as well. Some things that can help with women, quick things to kind of boost egg quality. Eggs. Eggs have vitamin D and choline and good fats and good proteins. Again, fish. A lot of greens, things, spinach, broccoli, avocados, a lot of those have some good qualities for boosting our eggs.
So while we're on the subject of supplements, and this can just be like a general question because we're going to do a whole fertility episode, like for women in our 30s, in our mid-30s, like I even asked my oncologist, like after treatment when I was trying to really get my... they give me a med list every time I go, still, even though I'm like a year post-treatment. Oh, wow. And you know what's on there is B12, which is hilarious because it's like, I'm the one that told them I take B12 for energy, and I'm more of a pescatarian, vegetarian diet these days, so I need a little bit of more B12. But for women in our 30s, no matter your medical history, or just like our age, like what what should we all be taking besides a multivitamin? Or is that okay if we just should we be taking a multivitamin? And
yeah. So can I say one more thing about egg quality?
Yeah.
And then I'm going to also answer your question. If you make dietary changes or add supplements, it will take 3 entire months to affect your egg quality. Oh. So sometimes we make a change in the whole month, and then we expect some hormonal change, or we expect egg quality change. And it actually takes 3 months. Like, it takes the eggs that are kind of geared up. They're like soldiers. They're waiting in line, you know? And whatever changes, whatever you're eating and taking today is affecting your eggs 3 months from now. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
So that's why you have to be patient. You have to give yourself time. If I'm working with clients, I will say, we're going to make some changes now, and we're going to expect it to affect your fertility 3 to 6 months from now.
Okay.
So if you're preparing to try to have a baby or preparing for some kind of fertility treatment, I would say make a lot of these changes. Give yourself time to make these changes.
Yeah, which I didn't even know that.
So that's the last thing I would say about that. I have so many things we could say about fertility, but supplements. So I will again say it's important to check with your doctor before you add any supplements, especially if you have any underlying conditions. Please always do that.
Like, for example, when I was doing treatment, I had a strict list of supplements I couldn't take that was going to hinder my treatment. Like, they would not let me touch vitamin C, which is wild. But I'm a very specific case. Yeah. Like, I'm not like a normal person.
That was very specific. But most people do need to take some kind of multivitamin. You want to pay for a good one. Otherwise, it's not worth it.
Can we say brands?
Yeah, I think I'm going to say brands.
I mean, is that allowed?
I mean,
okay.
I don't
want to get
be mad at
I don't want to get in trouble for saying a bad brand, but like for me, like this normal consumer who's like looking at the like checking out and see that brand that's like yellow and green, you know what I'm talking about, and it's like discounted and 2 for 1 for 1 B12, and I mean, I just don't know. I'm like a person who doesn't know brands and doesn't do a lot of research and just says, "Ooh, I need vitamin C. Here's a 2 for 1 special."
Yeah, it's generally not the best one.
Okay, so what should I look for? And you don't even have to say the brands if you don't want to, but I mean, what? It's free advertising. Why wouldn't they care?
I don't know. I will tell you a couple brands that I like in general.
Okay.
How about that? I'll give you a handful of brands I like in general. Most of us, even if we're eating a really, really clean diet, are not getting everything we need. And a lot of it is not our fault, right? A lot of our foods are not made like they used to be made, right? Mm-hmm. Like, a lot of our minerals come from soil. And the soil we are planting and harvesting our vegetables out of are deficient just from the way we farm now. And so there's so many aspects of, do I need a vitamin, right? What color is my skin, right? Am I getting vitamin D from the sun? Am I outside? What kind of job do I have? What kind of food do I eat? So most people generally need a multivitamin. Most people need vitamin D because most of the country is deficient, and there's too much incredible research of the benefits of vitamin D for cancer, for immunity, for fertility. So that's when I usually recommend we need at least a little bit more than we're getting on a multivitamin. So brands I like, Seeking Health is a great brand. They have really good quality vitamins. Pure Encapsulation is a really good brand.
Okay,
they have a lot
Pure, that's the vitamin D that you sent me. That's what I take.
Pure Encapsulation.
Yeah, I think it's like 1,000 milligrams or something.
Yeah, I use. And Thorne is a good brand. So those are just some good brands that you can get off Amazon. You can get off their website. There are so many vitamin brands, though. So when we talk about fertility, I will tell you kind of my favorite fertility supplements. Mm-hmm. Again, everybody's different. Check with your doctor, check with your provider, but most of us kind of need a good quality absorbable.
Real quick question, a prenatal. Mm-hmm. I have heard so many of my friends say they take prenatals for their hair and their skin, and they're not pregnant. They don't want to be pregnant. They're not even planning for a pregnancy. Yeah. Is it okay for our age to take a prenatal and not be pregnant? Like, can I take a prenatal? Is that too...
No, you absolutely should. I actually tell most people, if you are a woman of childbearing years,
Okay.
take a prenatal.
Which is like, what, 20?
Which is a woman who has a period.
Oh. Okay.
So, a woman who has a period, in my professional opinion, should take a prenatal because our diets generally lack. Also, as I mentioned, our diet quality has changed. And also, it actually takes a lot of energy and nutrient requirements to have a cycle and a period every month, right? So we're losing iron, we're losing, our diets change during those times. Our needs increase during those times.
Right.
So I think a lot of people are afraid to take a prenatal. They're like, oh, I'm going to get pregnant. I'm like, maybe we should talk about how people get pregnant because it's not from vitamins. But yeah, if you do not want, sometimes the extra vitamins in those can bother people. For example, sometimes prenatals have iron and that can bother people digestively. So if a prenatal doesn't jive with you, sometimes I will add supplements, little tiny extras to just a general multivitamin. So again, work with someone if you have a special condition or question or need.
Okay, we have so many questions about fertility, and we're going to have to do a separate episode on that. But I'm going to ask some generic questions because something I cut out 2 years ago was dairy. Okay. One, even pre-diagnosis for me, I always had trouble with dairy in my late 20s. I was at the urologist every other month. I had stomach issues.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about that.
I know. That's a whole nother season of my life that I forgot about. I blocked it out because it was awful. I went to the gastrologist 4 or 5 times. They could never diagnose me. I guessed I was celiac because I didn't know what else I was. Anyway, I cut out dairy. I don't even know. I was on a mission to try to cure myself, but I did cut out dairy.
Okay, can I just have a PSA? If you were somebody who was going through what Sarah was going through 2 years ago, find a dietitian or someone who knows what they're talking about and don't try to guess. Pay somebody who has gone to school for this.
I know. Well, I lucked out because I called
have
you
them do
and
the
get
work.
Free advice. But yes, it wasn't till I really took it seriously. But I did cut out dairy. So my question is dairy good or bad for women our age? Yeah. I mean, I lived with one of my friends that would literally drink a cold glass of milk every night before bed, and I'm like, how does she even do that? Dairy makes me break out, it hurts my stomach. But for our age, it's the whole thing about it's good for your bones, it's good for growing, it's good for your bones and your teeth and osteoporosis. Is it good for us? Should we be drinking a glass of milk?
So my answer may shock you, but dairy is good for you, and I will tell you
cow's milk.
Yeah, cow's milk. So I'll tell you a couple things. Dairy is good for you if you can tolerate it, right? There are a lot of great benefits, especially of grass-fed dairy products. So grass-fed milk, grass-fed butter.
Okay, is that the stipulation though? It has to be grass-fed?
No. So I tell people to include dairy in their diet if it does not bother their digestive tract and if it does not bother their skin. So those are the two things that generally, if people are sensitive to dairy, they will feel the bloat, the diarrhea, the gas, or they will have a skin issue. So eczema or rash or acne. Those are generally how a sensitivity to dairy presents itself. If those are the case, you can absolutely cut out dairy products and get the benefits from dairy from other things, right? So you can get calcium from other sources. You can get vitamin D from other sources. You can get protein from other sources. But if dairy does not bother you, then I would include it in moderation in your diet because a couple reasons. One, grass-fed dairy products have a lot of great benefit. Grass-fed dairy is the only way to get vitamin K2. Vitamin K2 is one of my favorite vitamins to geek out about. It's really crazy, but it's only found in grass-fed dairy. Grass-fed butter is a great source if you're not into drinking a whole glass of milk. But it actually helps remove calcium from your soft arteries and put it back in your bones and teeth, which is really crazy. Cool. But also just if you are buying dairy, I would buy organic products. It's just the process of it is important. I would say with meats and dairy products, I generally recommend organic if you can afford it.
Okay.
If you can't afford it, I recommend trying to at least budget for like every other week when you buy groceries, trying to buy organic. There's actually one more thing I want to say about fertility is there's a Harvard fertility study that was done. They were looking at nurses, a lot of nurses, something like 8,000 or 80,000. I should have double checked before we recorded this, but a lot of nurses. They looked at these nurses who conceived and their rate of conception and what they were eating. So they looked at their diet. And they found normal things, right? The people who were more active and ate more fruits and vegetables and, were healthy weight, those are the people who conceived,
Quicker.
faster.
Yeah, easily.
Yeah. They also found that the women who were drinking high-fat dairy products, whole milk lattes, and whole-fat cheeses, were more likely to conceive.
Starbucks?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yep.
This is a Harvard study.
This is the Harvard fertility study. Y'all can go look it
Going
up.
to get
Sarah
a latte from
I don't know if it's
Starbucks.
because you're a sister, but she second guesses everything I say. This is probably why she didn't listen to anything
Show me the data.
Show me the data.
And
part of it probably was not necessarily the dairy as it was these women were getting adequate fat. Adequate fat is very important when you are trying to conceive. But there's something to it there. I also am a big fan of fat and protein in your diet because it keeps you fuller for longer. Like, think if you went to Starbucks and got a non-fat latte and a cookie, how crappy you would feel. But if you got a whole fat latte and an egg bite, you would have like lots of fat, lots of protein.
Yeah, I will say, when I cut out red meat, I was like really struggling. I was anemic. I was like, had no energy. And when I upped my fat intake, I was like a whole new person. And a little bit of protein.
Yeah.
Like non-meat protein.
Yeah. So I don't know if I gave you a yes or no. My answer is yes if you can tolerate it. Try to find grass-fed and organic.
Okay, so long story short, go through the Starbucks drive-thru, get a venti,
no, don't do
full fat, white chocolate mocha. No, I'm kidding.
Don't do
Okay.
Hey guys! So we love this podcast. We really hope you do too. This is a great way to share our story. And if you have a few minutes to rate us or review us, we would be so grateful.
Yes, we are supported by you, our friends and our listeners. You have heard me mention my favorite high-quality vitamin company before, Seeking Health. I have been a fan for a really long time. So when they reached out, I kind of geeked out. So anytime you guys purchase your vitamins and supplements through our affiliate code, you are supporting the Talk to Me Sister podcast. All of that information is in our show notes, but Seeking Health is also offering you guys a 10% off promotion off your next order. Use the code SISTER10 to get 10% off. That's SISTER and the number 10.
That's awesome. Okay, so you guys, you want quality vitamins. Remember that. Don't waste your money, whether you're buying their optimal prenatal or active folate or the probiotics. These are numero uno.
They're the best. They also have a genetic test kit that you can purchase on their website and do at home. It's a saliva test. It is a roadmap for your health and guides you at what supplements are best for your specific DNA. And it can help tell you what's contributing to your chronic health conditions and tell you what to do about it. So it's amazing.
And so guys, this code won't expire. So if you're listening to this at a later date, no worries at all. So go get some quality vitamins, start feeling the benefits, start feeling better.
That's Seeking Health, Sister10 to get 10% off.
Thanks so much.
Okay, so when I was on this like health mission, this is like pre-cancer, pre-diagnosis, pre-pregnancy for me. This was in my 20s when I was working 80-hour weeks. I didn't eat breakfast. I was living off coffee. It was just those kind of like grind years for me. Where I had a lot of issues. I was in the urologist all the time. Fast forward when I was going through all my healing journey, I'll call it, when I started to care more about my diet, I was researching what I could do. I was focused on my uterus, right? Because I had a tumor in my uterus. So I was like, how can I heal this uterus?
Yeah.
And what could I put in there to heal? So I don't know if this is a myth. I'm going to ask you this question.
Okay.
What foods, they're foods that look like certain body parts.
Oh, yeah,
Like have you ever seen a pancreas? Looks exactly like a sweet potato.
Yeah.
And like, so I saw the avocado with the hole looking like a baby, you know, like
little
a
uterus,
little uterus. And I'm literally, I think I ate my, like 12 avocados a day after I was diagnosed for like a month.
So much guac.
So much guac, which was actually amazing. But I mean, and then you slice the carrots and you look at it and it looks like an eye. I mean, a walnut looks like a brain.
Yeah.
So is that a myth? Did God like create these foods to like, for certain body parts?
I believe that every body part needs more than one food. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I also believe that God is a very creative God and gave us some of these coincidences to encourage us. I do think that if you were looking for foods for your uterus, there would be female reproductive health. There's going to be a lot more foods than avocados. So I don't know if it's a myth as much as it maybe is just a coincidence, and a lot of foods that are fresh and whole that you could get from the earth, cut open and bring in, are going to look like a body part. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Most of them, you're right. It falls over and you're like, oh, dang, that looks like it. So
because it's like, even with the carrot, the beta carotene, which our body turns to vitamin A, is good for your eyes, and it looks like an eye. So it's just wild.
I'm like, a carrot looks like an eye?
Well, when you cut it.
Oh, when you cut it.
And you cut it. Okay, when you cut it into a circle and you flip it, it's got an
I
iris and a pupil.
You're right.
Okay. That was just like,
this is a question that we will ask God when we get to heaven, because I think that it's incredible, because you're right, I've seen these charts and you're like, oh, I love that.
We need answers. Okay.
Yeah, we need
also,
answers.
back to when I said it, in my 20s I lived off coffee, and it's really true. I literally didn't have breakfast and would have 3 cups of coffee a day. I'm an addict. I love espresso. Is it good for you? How much is too much coffee? How much is too much caffeine?
It depends again on how your body processes caffeine. So my quick answer for those who like quick answers are, I would stick to a cup or 2 a day.
A cup or 2 a day.
1 or 2 cups a day. But then go back to, let's look at your health. Why are you improving your health, right? Are you having trouble sleeping? If you're having trouble sleeping, maybe we need to look at your caffeine intake. Are you having trouble with stress? Caffeine is a stimulant. So if you feel super anxious in the morning after your cup of coffee, is caffeine contributing to your anxiety? If your adrenals are shot and your thyroid is shot, do we need to work on taking care of your body and cutting out some of these things that add stress? If that's the case, we need to look a little closer at your caffeine intake. But for most people, even pregnancy, we have seen that 200 to 300 milligrams are okay, and that's generally a cup a day.
Okay.
That's what I stick to. Even in pregnancy, I generally have a cup in the morning just to get me through the day. But I always recommend, look at your health closer. If you're curious about how you feel off of caffeine, cut it out. Do some hot lemon water, do something with less caffeine, a half calf or a black tea, and see how your body responds.
Yeah, do process of elimination. I will say, when I had those urology issues and I was really miserable and had a million UTIs, and this is too much TMI, but I did cut out coffee. It was really hard for me, but I cut out coffee for a month and I felt like a new person.
Right.
So it just, like you said, I think it just depends on what
and
your
most
body,
people
how your body
benefit
reacts
from just cutting back.
Right.
And some
not
people,
eliminating altogether.
Right. Some people drink coffee in the morning and Starbucks in the afternoon, and then a Diet Coke, and then some tea, and a lot of that is a lot of caffeine. So I would address your caffeine intake and why are we grabbing caffeine? Do we need to sleep better? Yeah.
Or what is your diet lacking? Okay, wine. I think there's some women that just can't live without their 5 o'clock glass of red wine while they're cooking dinner, or a nightly glass of wine. How much is too wine? I've heard a myth that alcohol breaks down the cell wall. We're trying to get healthy cells in our bodies to attack unhealthy cells. I mean, how much is too much alcohol in a week?
So the general blanket recommendation for most women is 1 drink a day is okay. And so I usually challenge people, how big is our glass of wine at night? 1 glass of wine is technically, 1 serving should be about 5 ounces, which is not very big. And that's what is considered safe for most women. But like I said with caffeine, like you have to think of how is it affecting me, right? Mm-hmm. So what we do know, like how you said about breaking down the cell walls, is that alcohol can cause inflammation, right? And also it is a toxin that our liver has to work on detoxifying, right? Your liver starts to prioritize, I have to break down this alcohol. So especially if you're working on your health or you're on a fertility journey, we need our liver to be working really hard because unfortunately we are exposed to a good amount of toxins just in our day-to-day life, right? Our makeup and our air and our cleaning products. And so we need our liver to really work hard. So when we do drink, our liver prioritizes that alcohol and it's taking a back step on some of these other toxins and detoxes. So I'm a glass of wine at the end of the day fan myself. I think 1 drink a day for some people is too much. When people are trying to conceive or trying to really watch their health, I recommend personally as a professional to stick to 2 to 3 drinks a week.
Or just cut it all together.
Right? Absolutely. I mean, if we can't cut it out and there's a problem, we need to look a little bit more into it, right?
Yeah.
Again, like what are we grabbing? Why are we grabbing that wine?
Right.
But there's also, there's some evidence that a glass of red wine has some antioxidants and some resveratrol. And I also
like lower I've heard a myth it's good for your heart or could like lower your stress or like all those good I remember my doctor telling me it was literally the moment she told me I had cancer. It was like a 2-hour doctor visit and I literally asked her, can I have a glass of red wine? Because I was like,
for sure.
She was like, if it lowers your stress and helps your sanity and mental health, absolutely.
Yeah. So that's another aspect. Like when people are trying to conceive, it's such a stressful time. That's where like 2 to 3 glasses a week can really help. There is good evidence that we should not drink in the 2-week wait, especially if we've done IVF or IUI.
What is the 2-week wait?
Between, so like when we did embryo transfer, between when we found out I was pregnant.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Right. So we usually don't recommend that, but when you were trying to conceive and there's a lot of waiting and a lot of unknowns, sometimes it, like having a 5-ounce glass of wine can help with your stress level, and that actually is super helpful. So again, it's up to the person. I hope I answered that.
You did. And so obviously our age group, well, gosh, any woman, let's be honest, is concerned about anti-aging, and how much money do I spend on anti-aging products and all those things. So what would be your advice or number one food item and number one drink item to do and focus on upping our intake for anti-aging?
Okay, let's
I'm talking I can get it at Kroger.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. My first question always when we think about anti-aging is that we don't need to fight it, right? It's going to happen. It's inevitable. I think we are in a society where we really focus on stopping the aging. Mm-hmm. We don't necessarily want to stop it, right? We want to help us age gracefully. We just want to prepare for it, right?
Yeah.
We, of course, want to make it easier on ourselves. So I often encourage people to reframe that, right? The number one thing people can do for anti-aging, internally, right? We're thinking about our bodies too, our joints, our organs, our hormones, all of these things that are going on, our brain health.
What can I ingest?
Well, number one,
gorged?
before we talk about food, we know these 2 things: exercise and hydration.
Yeah.
So water, sometimes I give people frustrating answers because sometimes it means hard work and not an easy fix of eat your goji berries, Mm-hmm. Staying hydrated and getting exercise. These are the best things. Food-wise, again, there's no easy answer, but the best thing we can do is eat whole, fresh foods and try to limit sugar and prepackaged and processed foods, right? So just trying to eat closer to the ground, trying to eat more organic, trying to eat more colorful foods. Sometimes I'll work with people our goal is just to get more color in our diet. Because if we're running on caffeine, like you said, I wake up and have a cup of coffee, and this was me too, right? You wake up and have a cup of coffee, you have a protein bar for lunch, you grab something easy on the go because you're starving, and then you have a good salad for dinner. that's good. But you've gone the whole day without getting something really colorful. So sometimes just starting to get more nutrient density in your diet and getting more eggs in the morning and, more fat. Again, fat is a really good thing for anti-aging because we need fat to absorb fat-soluble vitamins. We need fat for backbone of a lot of our hormones. But a lot of the Mediterranean-style diet, fish and colorful foods that we're talking about can help with inflammation, and cutting back inflammation can help a lot with the aging process.
Okay, so what I'm hearing you say is I can eat more salmon.
Yep.
More avocados because it's high fat.
Yeah. Nuts.
Eggs.
More fruit, eggs, lots of eggs.
Mediterranean. Eggs.
I know.
Salmon. Yeah. Avocado.
Yeah.
I love the Let's
Yeah.
go to Zoe's. Okay.
And it's like you can do practical things. You can say, okay, why don't we just make small steps? Like, why don't we start to try to get cook fish at home once a week?
Yeah.
And try to do like a meatless Monday and try to get a vegetable in the day before dinner at some point. You can do like small things like that.
So what I'm really bad about doing is drinking enough water.
Yeah.
Obviously, I feel like I look better. My face feels like less puffy. I feel better when I'm drinking tons of water, when I'm really like, okay, I'm going to just like drink this whole gallon.
Yeah.
I know there's some people out there that have their Nalgene and all those things, but to be honest with you, there's some days where I'm like, I'm barely drinking any water.
Yeah.
So how much water should we be drinking a day? Like
So,
realistically?
Yeah, the recommendation is half of your body weight in ounces.
That sounds like a lot.
So like, for example, if you're 130 pounds, then you want to be drinking 64 ounces a day for the most part. If you're, 180 pounds, you want to be drinking 90 ounces a day, right? At least, if not more, especially when you're pregnant, it's your needs go up.
What is this? Is this plastic?
This is stainless steel. It keeps your water really cold.
I should do stainless and not the plastic because of the...
Yeah, get those...
What do they say? The BP?
Yeah,
BPA?
we want to get the plastic out as much as possible for hormone health. But yeah, so my recommendations for increasing your water intake is to drink a big glass of water in the morning on an empty stomach. Mm-hmm. That like naturally is a really great way to naturally detox because your stomach is empty, you're dehydrated from the night, hits your stomach and your organs and your liver and your kidney kind of immediately, and you've started your day off with like, I'm going to be hydrated, right?
Right.
So lemon water or a big glass of water in the morning often can help people if they have digestive issues or constipation because you get a lot of fluid right there in the morning on empty stomach. And then a big glass of water before meals, and then carry your Nalgene. Be the person who carries your Nalgene around. If I don't drink water.
Gotcha. Okay. And what about being active? I mean, it's January. It's hard. You're so much better about getting in the gym. But
It's
like,
kind of my sanity, but yeah.
I know. And my sanity comes from like being creative and getting like a paintbrush in my hand. And but I can't neglect moving my body. Yeah. So like, what's the minimum I can do a week and still be healthy? I mean, what are some good tips that I could do that's like if I can do at home or like just a walk or
Yeah. So the general recommendation is like 150 minutes a week, and that's like 30 minutes like most days, right? Some of us don't get that, and that's okay. So what we know is that 10 minutes a day can at least help your mental health and your stress level.
Okay.
So I always say for people who are not exercisers to start with 10 minutes a day. So that's a walk outside. There's an app that's free and easy, and it's called the 7-minute workout. And it literally like gives you things to do for 7 minutes. Do some push-ups for 30 seconds, and then it'll go beep, and it'll switch you to do jumping jacks.
Okay.
And it's 7 minutes. And if you can do that before you get in the shower, then at least you've gotten some blood flow going. And if not for like, your physical shape, it's so important for your mental health to move around.
7 minutes. Okay, that seems more attainable.
You can do it. And then we just build from
daunting, like drive to the gym.
Yeah.
Get your stuff.
Yeah.
Like check into the locker room. Yeah. I'm already exhausted.
You don't have to do that. If you don't want to.
Okay, last but not least, we should go check on our kiddos. Who knows what they're doing?
Yeah,
but
taking care of
I think we should do a whole episode just on like a healthy sex life.
Okay, yeah.
Which we will.
We'll do it.
But did you study this? Like, how much sex should you be having a week to be like a healthy? It's part of a health.
It is part of a healthy,
healthy, happy.
Are we talking about foods to increase libido? People want to know that.
Oh man, see, so I feel like we should have a whole episode just on this.
We will.
I guess that could be the question, or like how much. Remember that Oprah episode where they were like, we increased our sex life, or we increased the amount of time so we had sex a week, and we lost 50 pounds each.
Oh my gosh,
like,
that does not
we're
sound
happy.
like...
Now we're like, I don't know.
I don't remember that, and I feel like
episode.
those people wanted to get on TV. For sure.
Probably.
But it is important for your heart health. It's good for your stress management. Honestly, especially people who are trying to conceive.
Stress management.
And they're just...
The guys on listening, which we probably have no guys listening, but they're like, yes.
Yeah, the stress management piece is important.
7 times
the connection.
a week. Yeah.
The connection is really important. I don't know if I can answer how much. I think that's like a personal question for couples, I guess.
Yeah.
But usually what I think is if you're having it once a month, you're pretty much a sexless marriage.
Ew.
Ooh. So we need to really think about...
Okay, it's good for your stress. It's good for your heart. Let's just say that. What are 2 foods that you can do to, like, boost libido in women?
Right. So, actually, exercise is really important for both men and women for libido because getting blood flow to your reproductive organs is really important, right? Okay. And I will say, with anything, it's like practice makes perfect, right? If you're not in the groove of having sex be a part of your marriage, then you kind of have to initiate it until it becomes a routine, a part of your marriage, right? Practice makes perfect. Exercise is really important. Foods. So there's so many like aphrodisiacs, right?
Oysters.
But actually high zinc foods are important. So look up your high zinc foods. That's why oysters is on the list.
Could I just take proteins. A zinc
tablet? If you want to. I don't know if it has the
I'm
same
like
effect.
I'm like your all-American. I'm like your all-American quick fix. Like
zinc foods are very helpful.
Can I do a drive-through, get some libido, and move on?
Okay, for you who like the quick fix, a supplement and a powder called maca powder. MACA.
Ooh, like the
Have
chocolate?
you heard of maca?
Maca?
Yeah. It's similar, but it doesn't taste like chocolate, this powder. It's
maca.
just like kind of a supplemental powder, and it is supposed to boost your energy and boost libido. And it's something that has very little side effect, whether...
Can you put it in your coffee?
Or no. You can put it in smoothies.
Oh, okay.
I think that's probably the easiest way to do it, is add it to a smoothie. Anyway, that's some quick fix.
Okay, well, I was like hesitant, should I bring up the sex question? But I feel like it's a part of your overall health and happiness as a human.
I actually talk a lot more about that topic with clients than I ever imagined I would. One, it's because I'm in reproductive health, and so many people have questions, and often people do not talk about it, and so that's why it's important that we bring it up, because it is so important.
I feel like we should do an episode just on that.
And your relationship, especially if you're going through a lot, whether it's just going through the stresses of 2020 or going through stresses of reproductive
fertility
support
issues. Yeah,
like it's so important to connect with the person that you're going through these highs and lows with in that way. And often people have questions about that, so maybe we can do like a Q&A situation, because I don't know exactly what to say, but I think if people had questions,
I know we should totally do a Q&A, because I feel like it's a topic that people really want to talk about, and especially young married couples or couples that feel so off and not on the same page.
Yeah, it happens.
Like, when you're not on the same wavelength and you're like off, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's an issue, and I feel like it's something that couples don't talk about freely. So anyway, we hit some highlights.
Yep,
and
I like it.
We'll resume later with a fertility episode, only because there's so much to talk about as it relates to nutrition, fertility, and especially with the IVF process. So we'll do that later. But
all right, guys. Well, let us know if you have questions, and we'll answer them.
Talk to you soon.
All righty. Bye-bye.
This podcast is brought to you by Anchor. This is the platform that we use to record and produce our podcast.
Guys, we are not tech savvy. I was so overwhelmed thinking about how to start a podcast, but we knew that it was the best and easiest way for us to share our story. And Anchor has been so easy to use and really intuitive for anyone, no matter how comfortable you are with podcasting or technology. They simplify it for you.
So you can record your episodes, add music, activate sponsorship, and distribute your podcast to Apple, Spotify, and all other listening platforms, all through Anchor.
So download the Anchor app for free or visit anchor.fm to get started. That's ANCHOR.FM to get started.
Have fun.